Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Thank you, Chacham Yaniv, for the introduction. I know it's very late. We're already by the peak of the day. Our minds are blowing up. It's the time of the day where you just stand still. You don't move. It's already the end of Tisha B'Av. I'm going to speak mamash for a few minutes, not long. Just, I know my wife is watching. That's why I'm going to not speak too long, but I'm still going to speak.
She's watching.
She's watching it. The Mishnah Perkei Avot says, the world stands on three things: Torah, Avodah, V'gemut Chasadim. The world stands on three pillars. One is Torah, the fact that men learn Torah. Two is the fact that men pray, they daven. Three is the fact that human beings, men and women, do Gemut Chasadim and do mitzvot. Since I started joining the Queens community, it's a beautiful community, it's a growing community, I can tell you that the Bukharian community stands on three things. Now remember this. One pillar is Chazaq. Second pillar is Bet Gaviel. Third pillar is Torah Anytime. Everybody agrees, yes or no? Yes. Agree. Very good. Chazaq, I don't even want to talk about it because the more I talk about it, just makes things worse because there's so much to talk about. Biz Gavil, I don't know, it's like a generator of Torah. It's like a vending machine. You put a coin, Torah comes out. Every brick, if you want to give $5 to Bet Gavil, it's a schut. Torah Anytime, we all know, is the biggest yeshiva in the world. They should all be zochet to continue. They don't need my bracha. But I'm just saying out of a karat tov, they should be zochet to continue, have the strength, have the money, and we should all support them. Ad B'yat HaMashiach B'ezrat Hashem. Really, I was going to speak about something else, but then this Shabbat I read an article that hurt me so much. I want to share it with you because it's going to take away my pain a little bit. It hurt me so much, this article. Recently in Tel Aviv, our beautiful country, Israel, there's a new group of teenagers that decided, not religious teenagers, but Jewish, that decided to make a new movement. That movement is that they're going to go from store to store, restaurants and cafes, make sure they're open on Tisha B'Av, and put a sign on the door. You know, like it says, help wanted on the door, open. Put a sign on the door. We are open on Tisha B'Av. Dafka. So they interviewed this Jew that we love so much, which is why it hurts, which is why it hurt me so much. If it wasn't Jewish, I wouldn't really care, right? Because he's Jewish. They asked him, why are you doing this? He's like, what do you mean? It's history. Who remembers the Beit HaMikdash? Who remembers this already? So they asked him, what's the difference between this and the Holocaust? He says, Holocaust, what are you comparing? It's not even 100 years ago. Beit HaMikdash is history. It's gone. Forget about it, all you religious Jews. Chaval al-Azman, like he said in the article in Hebrew. Forget about it. This hurt me so much. I don't even know why they printed this. It was like a stab in the heart. But the truth is, unfortunately, this is society. There's unfortunately so many Jews like that, and it's not their fault. It is not their fault. The problem is society, the Goyim. We're in, after the Churban Beit HaMikdash, it's almost 2,000 years, not 2,000 years. If you want to calculate, by the way, how much the years of Churban, you always take the number 69, and you minus it, the year of the Goyish calendar. So if right now have 2018, minus 69, I already forgot because I'm fasting, but I think it's 1949 or something. That's the trick. 1950. Some say 68, some say 69. Rameir Mazuz says to count 69, which is why I says 69. But you're right, some say 68. The point is, we're so far away from the Churban Beit HaMikdash, and every year that we're further and further away, the more we get sucked into the society of the Goyim, we don't even realize it. We're so brainwashed that we don't realize we're brainwashed. The opposite, they think we're not normal. The Sefer Chavot HaLevavot says that what's going to happen in Galut is the Jews are going to get pulled by the Goyim and by their society and by what they believe in so much, which is physical desires, which is running after kavod, which is honor, running after money like maniacs. Do you know how much an effect it makes in the Jews? Jews, for them, priority one is what? Hashem. Priority two is money, family, it depends on the guy. But priority one, no matter what, is family. Goyim, it's not like that. What's priority one for Goyim? Money, honor, that's all they want. Physical. You go out of the streets, what do you hear? It's all about us. Physical pleasure. But Jews, we're much better than that. We're above that. We weren't built for this. We weren't built for galut. We weren't built to be in this society for so long, so we're getting destroyed by Jews. Hashem is priority one. We wake up in the morning, do we say money? No, we say Hashem. We go to sleep, do we say, oh, I made money? No, we say, how many mitzvot did I do today? Our focus has to be Hashem. We have to keep our eye on the ball. Hashem 24/7. Literally, doesn't make a difference if you work, if you learn all day. A guy who learns all day also has to keep his eye on the ball. You'll be surprised. Learning all day, you get used to it too. You have to keep your eye on the ball, which is Torah and Yirat Shamayim, Yirat Shem. Doesn't make a difference how a guy dresses, what he looks like, where he came from, what country he's from, men, women, children. Everybody has the opportunity to serve Hashem and get close to Him. The problem is in Galut, which is where we are right now, after the Chumah Bet HaMikdash. We're getting barbared 24/7 by the wrong thoughts 24/7 all the time, especially now with the internet. It destroys Judaism. It destroys our whole identity of who we are. Life of Galut and life of Geulah is not just a little more uncomfortable, more comfortable. It's two separate lives. Remember that. Two separate tracks. Let's say a guy wants to go home. He goes on a train. So he takes the wrong train station, whatever it is, CQ, whatever it is in Brooklyn. So he can go a little off track. He stops at the next train station, goes on the regular when he goes home. But if a guy takes a totally different direction, he's not just a little out of the way. He's going two separate directions. Every year, after Tisha B'Av, we're closer and closer to going the opposite direction. And that's a churban. That's a churban. That's something that we should mourn for. So for this Jew that we love so much, to say what is it to mourn for? Bet HaMikdash is history. It's not history. We're living it every second of our lives. To see Jews not serving Hashem, just by that Jew even speaking on that is the biggest churban. That's enough to cry for. People say, what should we cry for? Unfortunately, there's so many things to cry about. Rabban Gamliel, the Gemara says in Sanhedrin, Rabban Gamliel was learning late at night. And then he heard a woman, the Gemara says, who lost her son that day. So she was crying in the middle of the night, Pchiyot, she was crying, you can imagine the pain. Rabban Gamliel heard her crying, and then it reminded him the Churban Bet HaMikdash, the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash, and he started crying and crying. His Talmidim, his students tell us, he cried so much that the next day his eyelashes fell out. That's how much he cried. They told him, Rabbi, we can't keep you in this neighborhood next to this lady. We got to move your city. You got to move to a different neighborhood. And they moved him. The Gemara says they moved it to a different neighborhood. Why? Because you just cried too much. So the question is asked, why did Rabban Gamliel, when he heard this woman cry, why does it say he started crying by the Bet HaMikdash? Just say he started crying with her for her pain. You hear a tragedy, you hear somebody crying, you cry with him for his pain. It reminded him of his Bet HaMikdash. Why? You know why? Because Rabban Gamliel knew that all the tragedies that we have in our generation, I don't want to count them, it's so sad. All the tragedies, what's the core, what's the source of all the tragedies? The fact that we don't have the Bet HaMikdash. And then you ask, what do we mourn for? What's so hard, unfortunately, to mourn? There's so much things to mourn for. All the tzarot. I have friends that unfortunately don't have kids yet. It pains me, it hurts. I wish it was over. Babies, chas v'shalom, you see, you look at the news, they're passing away in the cribs. Cancers, I had a few friends already passed away in cancer just a year ago. Big tzaddik. 10 children, I learned with them in the afternoon, passed away from cancer. You think that doesn't hurt? It hurts. We want it to be over. Then you ask, what is it to mourn for? What are you, crazy or something? What is it to mourn for? And that's physical tragedies. What about spiritual tragedies? Which is worse? There's a big tzaddik in the community, his name is Rav Spitzer. I think he runs Baragirl or something, the school. I once had the zchut to drive him from Brooklyn to Queens. And he survived the Holocaust, so he can say this. If you're not a Holocaust survivor, it's better to be quiet when it comes to Holocaust. But he's a Holocaust survivor, so I can quote him. He said that he survived the Holocaust, and he told me scary stories that he went through, scary stories. But he told me, Yaakov, let me tell you something. In this generation, it's even worse than the Holocaust. There's such a spiritual Holocaust around us in America. It's the saddest thing in the world. There's destruction everywhere. Just open up your eyes. Even if you open up your eyes, unfortunately we got so used to this. Whatever is not normal became normal. Whatever is normal became not normal. You tell them to be religious, look as if you're crazy. It's the saddest thing in the world, and it hurts. Why? Because they're Jewish. They're our brothers. We want them to enjoy life the way we enjoy life. And really the Sefer Chavot Ulavot said this is going to happen. He said you're going to have human beings, Jews, that are going to make their stomachs into gods. You know what that means? Bitnam Eloheim, he said. You know what that means? That means they're going to be so into food, so into physical desires, they're going to worship their stomachs. And they're going to make malbushehem le Torah. They're going to make their clothing into Torah. What does that mean? Fashion is their life. Fashion, politics, respect, money, all day, 24/7 like maniacs, all day long. But let me tell you a secret, Rabotai. I'm sure you all knew this. I'm just reminding you about it. Hashem told us one thing, and we as Jews know this. The Goyim don't know this, but we Jews know this. There is no greater enjoyment in this world but getting close to Hashem. Whoever thinks otherwise is a fool, and he's in the wrong business. That's it. There's nothing better than getting close to Hashem. Our focus should be learning Torah, doing mitzvot, getting closer and closer and closer to Hashem. A person who uses his energy for money all day long, money, or fashion or clothing or food all day long, he's wasting his energy. It's like taking a guy that's a genius in his mind. He can run a whole office in the city. He can invent so many things. You take him and you put him in an ice cream truck. It's a waste of brains, waste of energy, waste of potential. He could have made millions of dollars. Now he's in an ice cream truck. Don't fool yourself, Rabotai. It's not exaggerated. Every single Jew, no matter where he came from, no matter what he did in his life, no matter who his parents are, he has such potential. He has so much energy. He could do so much for the world. He could do so much mitzvot and Torah. If he uses his energy to go make money, it's a waste. It's a waste of time, energy, effort. What a waste of good brains. Everybody should go work and make parnasah. There's no question about it. But that's not your priority. Priority is Hashem. That's priority one. If a person plans a vacation and everything works out, the rent-a-car, the hotels, the flights, everything works out. But let's see, he doesn't find out if there's a minyan, if there's a group of 10 people davening shachit there. If he still goes there, I'm sure he's a good person, but for him, that's a proof Hashem is not priority one. If Hashem is priority one, what are you doing? If you're not going to go daven like a normal person, why are you going? Or let's say he plans the whole vacation, but he knows he can't watch his eyes when he goes there. We know watching your eyes is the worst. The Sefer Kabbalah tell us that one of the main pains a person is going to have after he passes away at 120, the main pains when they pull the neshama out of the body, the main pain comes from Shmirat HaEinayim. Sefer Rokeach says this. Shmirat HaEinayim is not just a chassidut, it's not an extra thing. It's life and death, Shmirat HaEinayim. It's a very, very, very dangerous thing. If a person doesn't watch his eyes, he's going to sin. He watches his eyes, guarantee you within 1 week he's going to lower and lower his statics of sinning. There's no question about it. So if a person plans a whole vacation, he's all proud of it, and it doesn't even come to his mind, wait a minute, what's with Shmirat HaEinayim? What about watching my eyes? If that person still goes there, Hashem is not priority one. That's a problem. That's something to mourn about. The fact that Jews wake up in the morning and they're not keeping Shabbat, I know we got used to it. But that's something to mourn about. That's a chuban. That's a spiritual tragedy that we have. Why? Because the Bet Hamikdash was destroyed. And the more and more we're further away from the destruction of the Bet Hamikdash, the more we're going to get seeped into the Goim. Rabbi Chaim Vital tells us that Hashem made the world in 3 stages. You have Behemot, all the way on the right, and animals are all about physical pleasure. It's all about this world. They only take and take and take. Then you have human beings, which is us. Then you have angels, which is only spirituality, only ruchniut. They have no physical pleasures. Says Rabbi Chaim Vital, a human being's job in this world is to always stay in middle. Always. Not to be too spiritual, because if you're going to be too spiritual, then you're not going to get married, you're not going to eat. It's not what Hashem wants you to do. Hashem wants you to be physical, but spiritual at the same time. That's where the challenge is. But at the same time, you can't be too physical. You can't get too pulled into too much world desires and hardly think about spirituality. But unfortunately, the more we get pulled away from Chumah Bet HaMikdash, the more we get pulled into the right, into the animal section. Abatai, if you don't realize it, that's a problem. That's something to mourn about. So how can you ask, what is it to mourn about? What is it to mourn about? Hashem Ya'azol. Hashem should get us out of here as soon as possible. So from now on, when you read the tefillot of Shmoneh Esrei and Birkat Hamazon, that we say, Bonei Yerushalayim, we always say in tefillot, Hashem, build the Bet HaMikdash, build the Bet HaMikdash. From now on, the feeling shouldn't just be out of crying. It should be out of desperation. Hashem, get us out of here. We don't want to be here. Us Jews could do so much more, but we're so limited. When we realize who we are as Jews and where we are, that's when you realize what is it to mourn about. When you realize the vast difference between where we're supposed to be and what we can do and where we live, then you're going to realize there's so much to mourn about. The Khatam Sofer in the late 1700s, when they took down the walls and the gates, whatever it is, to let the Jews start interacting more with the Goyim in business and education, all the Jews were happy, of course. Can I do more business, more money, more education? You can grow. Khatam Sofer was crying and crying. They asked him, Rabbi, why are you crying? He says, you don't understand. Imagine a person is behind bars and it's all dark, all scary and lonely. He always hopes one day someone's going to come take him out. Then one day, a guard comes, he sees a light opening, and he's like, oh, I'm going to get out. And then the guard comes in, and he puts a table, a chair, and a mattress. And then he closes the door back again. Is that guy behind the sun not going to start crying? Yes, because until now you thought there's hope, maybe I'm going to leave. But now that he gave him a mattress, he knows he's here for even longer. Says the Khatam Sofer, so too with us. So too with us. The more we get comfortable, the more things get worse and worse and worse. Because we don't know when it's going to be over. We hope it's going to be over very soon. Let me finish off with this. I hope that was enough for my wife, but let me finish off with this. Every year when I see Jews fasting, right now it's already at the end of the fast, it's such a Kiddush Hashem, I'm telling you my feelings. It's a major, major Kiddush Hashem. It means so much to Hashem for Jews after so long of suffering and after such a disgusting society, and they're still fasting at Tisha B'Av, at the heat outside, not eating for 9 days meat, sitting on the floor, not showering for Ashkenazim, not shaving for some Sfaradim. For us to do this, you know how much it means to Hashem? Never, ever, ever undermine it. Don't underestimate it. It means so much to Hashem. The great Napoleon, like the Chief Rabbi just mentioned, we mentioned him so much times, you even should become a rabbi here or something, Napoleon. The great Napoleon, when he was going from country to country, he went through Israel and he saw Jews sitting and crying. It's a famous story. So he asked one of his sarim, one of his ministers, why are the Jews crying? She's like, okay, I'll get back to you. He comes back to the Napoleon and he tells them they're crying because someone destroyed the temple. So Napoleon says, okay, tell me who destroyed it and where he lives, I'll go knock the guy out. Then he told Napoleon, no, it was 1700 years ago. We never met the guy, we didn't know where it was, we never saw it, our grandparents never saw it. Napoleon said, wow, a nation that can cry over stone and wood on something they never saw 1700 years later, I have no doubt they're going to come back and see the Bet HaMikdash. There's no doubt about it. And really Napoleon, Lahavdil, was mechavin to Gemara. You know the Gemara really says in Ta'anit. The Gemara says, Kol lemitabel el Yerushalayim, zoche vero'eh, whoever mourns over the destruction of the Bet HaMikdash merits to see the rebuilding of the Bet HaMikdash. Now the word zoche vero'eh in Hebrew is lashon hoveh, not haya v'hiyeh. It doesn't say yiskeh ve'ireh b'simchata. It says zoche vero'eh, present, as if it's happening right now. So the question is, it's not happening right now. Say, whoever mourns the Bet HaMikdash will merit to see the rebuilding of the Bet HaMikdash, not as if he's seeing it right now. Answers our great leader that we love so much, Maran Chacham Avad Yosef, Zecher Tzaddik V'Gadosh Shavacha, that just by Jews fasting 1700 years later, sitting on the floor after such a bad society, after so much ambushes that we have around us, just for us to still do this is the biggest proof that we're already building the Bet HaMikdash. So it's happening right now. Zoche vero'eh b'simchata. It's happening currently by us fasting. We're already building the Bet HaMikdash. Right now, this second. Do you know how much it means to Hashem to do this? It means so much. Every Jew, whoever is listening, just don't ever, ever underestimate. Every mitzvah we do, you know, Reb Chaim Vital asked our Rizal. He asked our Rizal, what does it make a difference, all the mitzvot that I do? Why? Because if the greatest tzaddikim 1,000 years ago, the smallest neshama, the smallest soul then, was bigger than the biggest neshama in my generation. So why would it make a difference if I do a mitzvah, or if I do a good act? Why would it make a difference? Because I'm still, no matter what, smaller than the guy in the generation before. The Rizal answered him such a beautiful answer, such a fundamental answer, and if you take it with you for life, it's a life changer. He tells them it's not about quantity, Reb Chaim Vital. It's about quality. It depends on the times that you live in. One mitzvah that we do in our generation can mean 1,000 mitzvot in the generations before. One act that we do. Can you imagine how much schar we get, how much it means to Hashem for us to fast in this generation? You know how much it means? I'm going to tell you a quick mashal from Shish and Pinkus. He says, when you go to a wedding, you have circles and circles of people dancing. You can't really tell who's the closest to the person who's making the simcha, who's the chatan, who's the groom, who's the bride. You can't tell. Why? How do you join a party? Take a cup of wine, beer, you eat, and you join. It's very easy. You crash a party, right? You crash weddings. Does anybody ever hear that you crash a morning house, a bet aved? Nobody crashes a bet aved. Nobody just goes into a morning's house. Who goes to a morning's house? Lo alenu? Someone who's the closest. Who cries? Someone who's the closest. Says Rav Shish and Pinkus. Every Jew in our generation, at such hard times, every Jew that keeps the Jewish calendar and he keeps Pesach, Sukkot, Purim, Chanukah, all the happy holidays, of course it means a lot, but it's not the biggest proof that you're so close to Hashem, because everybody could join a party. But when it comes to Tisha B'Av, a Jew who fasts, a Jew who has bad breath at 6:30 already in the afternoon, all these Jews, that's the biggest proof that you're close to Hashem. That's the biggest ra'ayah that you're close to Hashem. It means so much to Hashem. My biggest ta'ana is, because I love Jews so much, the biggest ta'ana is, if nothing is more enjoyable in life than serving Hashem, then we should be running after Torah v'yirat shamayim all day. If Hashem, who created all the enjoyments in the world, tells us that the most enjoyable thing is getting close to Him, who are we to argue? Who's the fool that would get up and argue? The world is so foolish. It's something to mourn about. It's something to cry about. Whoever can help, whoever is listening, Whoever can help spread Torah to other people. Whoever can share the wealth. Don't keep the happiness to yourself. Walk around with a badge and say, I'm religious and I want you to be religious. Be proud of it. Hold on to the trophy. Pass it on to your children. Children see right through us. They know what our goals are, what is not. I'm going to finish with this story. Torah anytime. Chazaq, basically, I'm leaving. 1 minute. Finish with this story. There was a big tzaddik who passed away, who lived in Yerushalayim. Big tzaddik. He said, you know why I became a Talmid Chacham? Now, especially the women listen. Okay? You know why I became a Talmid Chacham? Because of my mother. Why? When I was a child, none of my family members really learning Torah. And the people around me weren't learning Torah so much. He lived in Yerushalayim in the old city. They had no money, his parents. But his mother saved up money every week. And when she got enough money, she went to the kiosk, she went to the market, and she bought him a bag of candies. And he actually said specifically which candy. That means he remembered it 80 years later. It was those sesame candies with the honey. It's Persian and Turkish candies. I don't want to talk about it too much right now. But that's the candy that she bought for her son, and she hid it, and she will give it to him every day he came back from learning Torah. She told him, my child, I respect the fact that you learn Torah. Don't tell your other brothers, but here's the candy. This boy says it gave him such chizuk. It showed him that his mother cares so much. It gave him such a boost to keep on learning and learning and learning. Do you know who that boy was? You're going to be shocked. Do you know who that boy was? Maran Chacham Avad Yosef. Can you imagine how much Torah he spread? How much people's lives he changed? Why? Because he saw what his parents' priorities are. What are their goals in life? What's their values? Life in Galut without the Bet HaMikdash and life in the Gula with the Bet HaMikdash is not just a little more uncomfortable, more comfortable. It's two separate tracks, entities, ambitions. The values are different, goals are different. There's a lot, but unfortunately, there's a lot what to mourn about. But at the same time, there's a lot what to be happy about because we do so much. Us do so much fasting. But we should go and we should share the wealth. Teach other people Torah. You'll be surprised how much can you do. A few years ago, I read an article about this guy in Manhattan. He decided he wants to raise $1 million. But he said, you know what? I'm not going to go get 200,000, 300,000, 400,000. I'll go from one guy to one guy, ask for $1. I reach $1 million. So he went from one guy to one guy. He says, give me $1 if you want to be part of this $1 million club. Another $1 and $1. A few years later, you got $10 million. Not everything is you have to go to the big guns. To spread Torah, people make a mistake. They think they have to be Torah anytime, Chazaq, or Bet Gavier. They don't have to be such big guns. You don't have to own a yeshiva, have a kollel. You could just say Dvar Torah once a day. You're anyways talking on the phone all day. Say one Dvar Torah. What is it going to hurt? You see a guy on the train, a guy on the bus. Say one Dvar Torah, one inspirational story. Give your wife a compliment 3 times a day. I'm talking to myself. 3 times a day. You know what we can accomplish? One good word to a child. Tell him, I'm proud of you that you learned Torah. When we get to 120 Be'ezrat Hashem, you're going to have piles and piles of zchuyot and mitzvot and mitzvot. And we're going to accomplish what the Rambam says in Sefer Mitzvot. Gimel. How do we know a person really loves Hashem? Not a person who just says all day, I love Hashem, I love Hashem. No. How do we know a person really loves Hashem? Is a person that goes and spreads Torah. A person who spreads Torah and teaches other people, that's the biggest who loves Hashem. Why? Because when you love something, what do? You share with other people. You go around and you tell other people about it. That's the biggest proof you love Hashem. So Rabbatai, we already are building the Bet HaMikdash. By us fasting, we're already building the Bet HaMikdash. But we want to build them more and more and more. How do we do it? Go spread Torah. Tell your kids how much you appreciate to learn Torah. Women, push your husbands to go learn and tell them how much you appreciate it. Men, tell women how much they appreciate letting you go learn. And B'ezrat Hashem, we shall have the Geulah, b'eman amen of Amen.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.